Hey everyone, welcome to story time. Today's story is hot off the press. It hasn't even been published yet, and it's by Jessica Doyle, who's a local artist and writer, and it's a story about the adventures of Barnacle Ben. Do you know what a barnacle is? Well, this is Barnacle Ben, and a barnacle is a creature that lives on other things. It lives on all sorts of things, and if you can see it,
Hold it there for you.
That is a barnacle, and usually it's got a little creature inside.
Right there.
So,
And lives on a shell.
lives on a shell,
Or
sometimes other animals, fish. Right. Are you ready? In the beginning, a tiny barnacle floated among the tepid sea waters, alone and a little lonely, longing to find someone to share an adventure with. The sea is very big, and its waters spread to the ends of the earth. But the story begins off the shore of a small English coastal town named Herne Bay. The star is a barnacle called Ben, who is an adventurous little fellow at heart. Barnacles are usually sociable, happy little creatures, finding joy in living among their own kind. They are never seen alone and can be found in their hundreds, attached to all sorts of amazing creatures and covering many things found under the sea, like our shell. Ben had been floating in the sea for what seemed to him like forever. But it had only really been a day or two. For Ben, this had been far too long already. And this little barnacle was impatient, to say the least. Finding a home is an awfully silly idea when there are adventures to be had, he thought. Floating past the other barnacles, Ben squealed, "The sea is so very big and I am so very small. I will find lots of fun. I will travel far, far away and leave these boring barnacles behind to find much bigger and better friends." Now, we must not think badly of poor Ben, for he was so very young and still so very small. He had not learned the true value of family or friendship just yet, so we must forgive him just this once. For Ben could not see the worth of such tiny creatures. How they can hold the mightiest of hearts and be capable of all kinds of marvellously big things. All Ben could see was that ginormous animals must be bigger, better and nicer creatures. But this would not be a story unless a lesson needed to be learned, and Barnacle Ben could soon be caught up in a very large adventure. One by one, Barnacle Ben's brothers and sisters attached themselves to the surface of rocks and passing animals to start building their homes. Ben laughed and giggled at their dull lives in search of his own great adventure. Ben watched as his last sister, Lulu, settled on an old rusty anchor left behind by what he imagined must be a very large and impressive creature. Smiling to himself, Ben thought, how clever he was to finally be alone. How he must be very brave and grown up to have gone further than any other barnacles. When he heard a very loud whooshing sound coming straight for him, Ben was brave, so it did not bother him one little bit, until he got swept up into a whirlwind of waves, grabbing and crashing him up, down, side to side. This made Ben feel very sick and rather confused. "Ow! That hurt!" shouted Ben. "What was that?" Ben heard a very low voice reply, "That, young boy, was a rather large wave. You're lucky it did not squash you, as you are so very small." "I'm not," cried Ben. "I'm quite big for a barnacle. And I would like to have you know my name is not Boy, but it's Ben." "I did not mean to upset you, Ben, but I am just surprised you're alone and have not settled making a nice little home. I never see barnacles floating among the waves." "Out in these waters," whispered the fish. "Well," said Ben, "that is because I am on an adventure. I want to see the sea and go far, far away. I want to make friends with big, exciting creatures. I do not want to sit in one place and live in a tiny shell like my brothers and sisters. I want to be remembered for my adventure afar, the brave and mighty Ben." The fish turned and started to swim away, not wanting to listen to any more of Ben's immature talk. He spoke these words loud and clear. Do not journey on, Ben. The sea is a dangerous place to be all alone and so small." The fish, whose name was Ian, not that Ben cared, Ian thought to himself how rather foolish, rude and young Ben was. "What a silly fish," thought Ben. "I don't want to be his friend. He was old and grumpy." I've lost my place. He was old and grumpy, and I did not believe what he said. "I'll go on, and I'll show everyone I can do it alone." For days and days, Ben floated on and on with nothing but endless sea ahead. He started feeling tired, and he began to sink down, down, until he was close to the seabed. Ben was unaware of the danger that lurked below. Only a short way from him, the very large and very spiky orange crab, named Chris, lay watching Ben approach his lair. Suddenly, Chris scuttled from behind the rock and grabbed at Ben's squishy body with his sharp claws. "Stop!" Ben shouted. "I'm not your dinner. I'm on an adventure." "But you look rather yummy. I think you would taste nice." While the crab was distracted, imagining Ben wrapped in seaweed, ready to be eaten, off Ben went as fast as his little body could carry him, before Chris the crab could catch him. As Ben journeyed on, he began to wonder why barnacles stay inside their hard-shelled home. Maybe it's so they don't get eaten by big crabs. This made Ben feel very small and rather lonely, and even a bit dopey for thinking he could be a big, strong barnacle. On and on Ben went for days, weeks, months. Barnacle Ben journeyed far, far through many seas into the large ocean. He stayed away from the bigger, scarier creatures. But most of his journey he was alone with no one in sight. Barnacle Ben felt a little sad that his adventure seemed a bit boring and terribly lonely. Nothing much had happened to him, and friends seemed hard to find. The last creature he met wanted to eat him. Ben was sure in his heart that something good was coming his way, so he kept on going, even when a part of himself felt like giving up and making a nice warm home. By magic, some might say, Ben's luck had changed. For in the distance, Wendy, the grey whale, swam into view. A huge grey shadow hung over Ben. Wendy, I must add, is a very large but friendly whale who loves making friends with creatures, big and small. Luckily for Ben, this friendly whale would not eat him. But at this point in Ben's story, Ben was very scared. He thought he was Wendy's next meal. Ben froze as Wendy swam closer to him. "Please, please, please, don't eat me," squeaked Ben. Wendy smiled and replied, "I will not eat you, small barnacle." Ben felt annoyed the whale had called him small, but he had learnt from a previous conversation with a fish that to shout back at the whale was a very foolish and rude thing to do. So in Ben's nicest voice he said, "Hooray! You are the biggest creature I've ever seen, and I want so much for you to like me." Wendy looked at Ben and asked, Why is a creature like yourself swimming around alone? All the barnacles I have ever met have homes and stay in one place." Well, Ben replied, feeling much more confident and twice his eyes, "I am on an adventure." "Really?" gasped Wendy. "What for?" This was Barnacle Ben's chance to impress Wendy. "I did not want to stay in one place and live in a small shell next to other boring barnacles. I wanted to go far, far away, further than any other barnacle has gone before. And I really wanted to make friends with bigger, better creatures." Ben felt 3 times as big now. "How clever I am to have made it this far," he thought. But why must your friends be so big? And why would you want to travel alone so very far?" Wendy asked. Ben thought about what Wendy had asked him for a minute, and then for another. And after some time, he could not remember why he wanted to go so far, when all he had seen was a lot of water and had nearly been eaten, and had no one to share his adventure with. Had he had an adventure at all, Ben wondered. When Ben said nothing, Wendy whispered in a gentle voice, "I'm tired of swimming so far all the time. And being so big, everyone is afraid of me. I never used to make friends easily when I was small." "It's not fun being on your own, is it?" said Ben. "I thought everyone would like me and I would see beautiful places. All I have seen is lots and lots of water. I just want a friend. I have travelled through many oceans, made many friends, big and small in my time. But it takes kindness and patience. The best friends I have made are tiny barnacles. I like them so much, I let them build homes on my tail so they can travel with me," beamed Wendy. Wendy lifted her large tail so Ben could see her barnacle friends all across Wendy's tail. Hundreds of tiny shells glistened shiny white. Barnacle Ben could not believe what Wendy was saying. "You mean you like barnacles?" he shouted. "Why, yes. They're lovely, loyal creatures, always around when you need a chat, and they look after each other. You're never alone when a barnacle is around. You do not have to be big to have fun, Ben." Ben felt he had been very wrong. Come to think of it, a warm home did sound appealing after floating around the cold ocean. The sea is very big, thought Ben. Sometimes it's even scary and dangerous. Maybe it's not so bad being small after all. Wendy must be right, for she is much bigger, older and wiser than me. Suddenly, Ben felt tired and sick of his adventure. Maybe, Ben thought to himself, just maybe, my dream has come true. Finally, I've found a real friend. Wendy, Ben asked, do you think I could stay with you and the other barnacles and maybe go on a magical adventure with you? No one will eat me when I'm with you. I think that would be a wonderful idea. Where would you like to go, Ben? I'd really like to visit my brothers and sisters in Herne Bay before we go off on our adventure, said Ben. Wendy replied, I have never been to Herne Bay, so is it a nice place? I did not think so before, but now, as I remember it, it was a very friendly place and I'm not sure why I wanted to leave so very quickly. I feel a little childish now. Now I think of it, and I have grown up a lot since then. I think, Ben, that you're finally ready to join your own kind and live with the other barnacles on my tail. I will swim while you make your home. Come on, Ben, let's get you home, and then on to wherever the tides take us. And off they went. And here's Wendy. Hope you enjoyed that. It's a brand new book. It's got beautiful artwork in it, but she's not quite finished yet, which is, you know, we feel lucky to have been able to read it. So
we'll give out some more information when we have it and when it's ready.
Yes, we will.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, we can't